Hello students, in this video we will discuss about network virtualization, overlay networks, type of overlay networks and Skype, an example of network virtualization. What is meant by network virtualization? Virtualization means creating something more. So, network virtualization is concerned with the construction of many different virtual networks over an existing network, such as the internet, so that some extra or many different virtual networks are created from an existing network, so that each virtual network can be designed to support a particular distributed application. For example, one virtual network might support multimedia streaming, another that support multiplayer online game, and both of these will be running over the same underlying network. Next is overlay network. An overlay network is a virtual network consisting of nodes and virtual links. It consists of nodes as well as virtual links, and this overlay network will sit on the top of an underlying network and will offer something that is not otherwise provided. Some of the advantages of the overlay network are they enable network services to be defined without requiring changes to the underlying network. It also encourages experimentation with network services and customization of services to particular classes of application. Also, multiple overlay can be defined with the end result being a more open and extensible network architecture. And some of the disadvantages are it introduces an extra level of indirection, so that there may have chances for some performance penalty. They also add to the complexity of the network services when compared with TCP/IP network. These are some of the types of overlay networks: distributed hash tables, peer-to-peer file sharing, content distribution networks. All these are for particular application needs. And for network styles, the types of overlay are wireless and ad hoc network, disruption tolerant network, and some additional features is offered by multicast, resilience and security. Now let us see an example of overlay network, that is Skype. Skype is defined as a peer-to-peer application offering voice over IP. Peer-to-peer application means it is no more a client-server architecture. That means no node is particularly acting as a client and a server. Here every nodes are considered as peers. It is mainly Skype is used for instant messaging, video conferencing and interfaces to the standard telephony services. Skype is a virtual network in that it establishes connections between people. In the case of Skype, no IP address or port is required to establish a call. This is the Skype architecture. The main modules in the Skype architecture is a supernode. This is the supernode, and there will be a Skype login server, and these are the host nodes. Host nodes means the client machines where the user is present. So the working of Skype is like this. The users, supposing that this is one user, this particular user want to interact with this particular user, that means want to establish a Skype connection with this particular user. So this is the host node. First, the user who is present in this host node has to enter by giving the login credentials in the Skype account. So whenever the login credential is given, it will be passed to the Skype login server, where the login credentials will be checked. The already registered user's login credential will be saved in the Skype login server. So if the username and the password matches, login server will authenticate the service. That means this is a registered user. He is having a valid Skype account and communicate with the other person who is also having a Skype account. So whenever the authentication is done, it will contact the super node. Okay, from this super node will search for the user, that means the other end user. It will search with this particular supernode. That means this supernode will search with this particular supernode whether the other end user is present in this supernode. Since we want to communicate with this particular user, whenever this supernode establishes a connection with this particular supernode, it will identify that the required user is present here and will establish connections. Let us see this. Already discussed, it is a peer-to-peer infrastructure consisting of ordinary users and supernodes, where supernodes are selected on demand based on range of criteria including the bandwidth availability, reachability and availability. First one is user connection. So we have a host node and Skype users are authenticated via a well-known login server. They make contact with selected supernodes. And when the login credentials are over, it will contact the supernode will start to search for the user. So the main goal of the supernode is to perform the efficient search for the global index of users which is distributed across the supernodes. The search is orchestrated by the client's chosen supernode and involves an expanding search of other nodes until the specified user is found. Next is voice connection. Once the supernode where the first user is present, and if that supernode find out the user on the other supernode, it will establish a voice connection between the two parties using a TCP for signaling call request and terminations, or either UDP can also be used or TCP for the streaming audio. In this way, the Skype functioning is taking place. Thank you.